TJ Kelley is here with me. Joining us for this week's Chalk Talk, sponsored by the Basketball Coaches Association of Michigan, is the head coach of the now back-to-back PSL champions. That's got a nice ring to it. Detroit Martin Luther King head coach George Ward. Coach, how are you?
I'm doing well. How about you? Good to see you guys, Lorne, and my man TJ. It's good to be on, and thanks for having me.
8 years now at Martin Luther King. You've coached at a variety of places in your history. We were talking a little bit before we started rolling, your time at Southeastern, and you've been elsewhere. I remember, I believe it was it Oak Park you were at
Park High
for a little while?
Yeah.
Yep.
We were at Oak Park for 2 years, Detroit Central for 2 years, and prior to that, Detroit Charlotte Fortin Academy, as TJ definitely remembers, and I was there for about 5 years over there. So we've been at it for a long time, and thankfully, I haven't had to have a gap year. So every year I've been coaching for the past 20 plus years.
So God willing, is it your plan to stay at King for the rest of your days, if possible?
Well, I can't say that.
Okay.
But what I do know is I'm in a comfortable place right now. I truly love the families, the faculty at King High School. Obviously, I love the young people. But at some point, it's always about evolution. So I am 51 years old now, so who knows what the future may hold. But I will say this. I can live comfortably right now. So whatever I want to eat at night, I can, as you probably can see. So, if something wonderful comes along, then I definitely will take that. But it'll take something very special to pry me away from King.
Was there ever a time that you seriously thought about coaching college?
You know what? That question has come up, Lorne, but I will tell you this. I don't know how much coaching really comes into play when you're thinking about, leaving the high school level, unless you're going to be a head coach. So, assistant coaches at the collegiate level now, they are more relied upon for recruiting purposes, I want to say.
Yeah.
And it's not my vision or a dream of mine to get on an airplane 4 or 5 days out of the week in the spring and summer going to recruit young people. I really feel like I'm doing a wonderful job here in the city, impacting young people's lives. So that's really more important to me. So, and obviously I know money, it's a wonderful thing as far as being an assistant coach. Your pay grade goes up a little bit, but right now I'm happy. But if the right situation comes along and I can call my own timeouts and make my own substitutions, I definitely would look at it. And it doesn't matter what level. I don't have to be on TV, any of that. My ego is not involved in it like that. But if I get a great opportunity to call some timeouts and make my own substitutions, then I may be willing to do so.
Understood. All right, before I bring TJ in here, your Crusaders now 18-1. And for anyone who saw the game on Monday night, clearly Western was outmatched on that particular evening. Your thoughts on winning a PSL title with this group of guys, what it truly means to everyone, for the rest of the players, for the rest of their lives, having that moniker of PSL champion, let alone back-to-back for guys like Chauncey and the crew. It means everything, right?
Yeah, it means everything. And as you alluded to, Western on that night, they were outmatched a little bit. I think our experience helped us as well. So kudos to them and their coaching staff for doing a great job just to get there. But yeah, it meant the world to me, more importantly because of the smiles and the laughs that I got to see my young men have and their families. And going back to back, I knew that this was a special group. And I've got to say, we've been in the Final Four probably every year with the exception of my first year at King. And as you can remember at Southeastern, we were pretty much in the thick of it all the time. So it gave us an opportunity to kind of say that we're one of the best programs in the state of Michigan. I think that's what it states. And it says that regardless of graduation and anything else, our program is always going to kind of be in the mix of everything. So what a wonderful job by our young people. And, to lose 4 starters as we did last year and to come back and, again, be probably one of the top 2 or 3 teams in the state, if not the best team. That's obviously an opinion, but
Yeah.
it says a lot about the young men and their willingness to work every single day. So I think the championship just says pretty much every Tuesday and Friday, our young men answered the bell in a major way.
Yeah. TJ.
I'll tell you what, you're probably undefeated if Matt Coffey is
Yep.
available in early December versus University of Detroit Jesuit. But since then, you're on a 17-0 run, which is just as long as any other streak that's out there right now. And and I think your guys are ready, and especially sometimes when those bright lights come on, whether it be at Callahan Hall or whether it be at the arena, as long as you've been there, your guys have been there. There's a sense of calm. I want to talk about one of the calmest players, and I had the chance to talk to Chauncey after the game, and I was like, man, you're not even sweating. Usually, the other guys, I got my coat on and stuff like that. I don't walk around with sweat marks on whatever coat I might have and stuff like that. But Chauncey, I'd go give him a hug and all that stuff. Is this before the game or is this after the game? But one thing that Chauncey brings to the table, and especially I think that is so important as a point guard, is being that that cool guy. When everybody else is losing their heads, he's keeping his. And I think that's one of the things, just talking about poise. And I talked to the college coaches and other college coaches that were there this past Monday. And I'm telling them, I'm like, so you're going to tell me that you're in the conference championship and it's a tie game and the guy with the ball isn't sweating? I was like, sure, that's something that whoever's doing the broadcast, that they're going to talk about that,
Right.
and they're going to say, wow, this guy's cool as a cucumber, if I could use a 20th century reference,
Yes.
But hats off to you, and especially what you've done with Matt Coffey in the last 6-7 months, because I was looking at him like, hey, man, this is going to be another Alaric Jackson. Go play football. You like to eat. You look like 3 yards and you're going to fall down, and then you get to wait, 15, 20 seconds, get up and do it again, rather than going back and forth those 94 feet. And I know that we've talked, prior to the season, and you mentioned that, he lost 30 pounds over the course of 4 months, and I'm sure that he's trimmed down a little bit more since then.
Yes. Well, you look at Matthew. I'm going to address that first. Matthew was a neighborhood kid, and obviously they moved and went to Mount Clemens. It really devastated me, I saw him a few times in middle school because their middle school games were played at King, and Lynn White-L, who's one of the best slot receivers in the state, played middle school basketball with him, and Matthew, when he left, it kind of shook me up, but when he came back, yes, he wasn't in the proper condition, but not only physically, but mentally and emotionally. And it is just cool. It's just credit to him and his family that he really bought in. And I tell you, young people can't buy in if the parents don't buy in. And that's the one thing that people don't like to look at. But, because if the parents are giving a wrong message or a different message at home, it forces the young people to have to make a decision between the coach and the parent. And obviously the coach isn't going to win. So this young man he's a naturally talented young man who's got a wonderful soft touch, and not just around the basket. So we had to really work on his footwork. We had to work on his conditioning, but we had to really work on his understanding of making sure he knew how to play hard on every play and what was expected of him on a daily basis. And when I say the young man I will tell you this, he's one of the greatest teammates that I've ever seen.
Yeah. And Coach, if I can jump in.
Yep.
Just real quick on Matthew, because I remember talking to you after the second game, the game against Catholic Central, that was his first, and you were like, the guys just don't even know how to play with him right now.
Yes.
They don't know what they have in Matt Coffey, and clearly now there is an understanding of what they have, because I haven't seen a kind of point guard big man symmetry as you really saw with Willis and Coffey Monday night.
Wow, that's amazing. As I tell them all the time, as special as Chauncey is, and Chauncey, in my opinion, he's the best player in the state of Michigan. And when you think about this, when he accepts the fact that Matthew is really special, it forces everyone else to do so as well. So here we are. Chauncey is about 6'2", 6'2 and a half, 185 pounds with an IQ off the charts. But you can find a Chauncey Willis from a size perspective or a guard perspective. You can't find Matthew Coffey a lot. Every team has a 6'1" to 6'3", 6'4 guard. Every team in the state of Michigan almost. Everybody doesn't have a 6'8", 255-pound monster at the bottom of this thing. So the one thing that I wanted to make sure that our players understood is like, hey, we understand Chauncey's going to get a bulk of the shots. He's going to get a bulk of the shine. But I tell you what, if you don't utilize this big fella here, we're crazy and I'm stupid. And they bought in, and for me, our players want to win. Our players want to win. And at the end of the day, that's what sustains a program. That's what gives you sustained excellence. Do you want to win, or are your individual accolades more important than the team's success? So Chauncey finds Matthew. And of course, there's going to be times where we always could say, man, you could have thrown it inside. I mean, that's almost on every play. But we give them flexibility and the freedom to kind of play how they need to. But we also understand that ball's got to go inside. So that's a great point, Lorne.
Yeah, exactly. And then you've got the younger Coffey now getting some minutes and making contributions. There were a couple times I was filming and I was like, oh, that's not Matthew out there.
I tell you what, he will be a monster. Now you heard it here first. He will be a monster. He's more athletic than his brother. He doesn't have as great a feel, but his motor is unbelievable. You got to put the brakes on him an awful lot. And going against his brother every day in practice, it has allowed him to learn some things defensively and from a toughness standpoint that he didn't realize he had. So watch out for Jonathan Coffey next year. He's going to be a son of a gun. And believe me, we may be doing an episode next year around this time because we're going to be very, very good again.
Right on.
I always look at bigs, the light goes on, often at different times, because I think that one thing what you're talking about as far as, you could why aren't you feeding the post? And you could do that in every game. Guards bigs evolve later, so
yes.
When they're growing up, they don't have, a lot of guards don't know how to make entry passes because they don't have confidence in the bigs who are far, when they're 12 and 13 years old, they're getting pushed into puddles and getting made fun of, gump and all whatever else you want to call them.
That's the coach's fault, though. The guys that are coaching those big guys, I don't care if I've got a 6'2", 6'3" 7th or 8th grader. If he's got to play in the post, and again, you should do a lot of drill work with them so they could play the guard position if they can. But I don't care what you tell me. If you can throw this thing inside and teach these young guys how to play and get them prepared, that is going to help them. So most times we get bigs. That's why we're one of the few teams that throw the ball inside. Obviously, Catholic Central does it. Brother Rice does it at times with the big fella that they have. But for the most part, you don't see the ball getting thrown inside an awful lot. But as you know, if I've got somebody that can play with their back to the basket, I don't care if he's 5'11" or 6'11", he's going to touch the ball.
Right. I know that, obviously we work together with the Michigan Elite 25. I'm glad I talked to Tim, talked to you guys and stuff like that. I'm glad that we're going to be back. But I think that, even when we're working, because we work a lot of one-on-one with the players in groups and stuff like that. And I think that, one of the questions that I always like to pose to the kids is, would you rather have an open shot or a contested shot? And if you feed the ball into the post, like Parks, he's going to get a wide open three. There's so many times where why would you want to make things more difficult when you can, you feed it down to Coffey, they're going to have to double team or Coffey's going to get his 2 points. We were talking about the big kid Jalen Overway in the show earlier, who's very the brothers from another mother. Over at Holland Christian. And I'm talking with his dad, and he's like, we get double teamed, and we get, my son gets double teamed and triple teamed. They just don't have the guards that they can really make those shots that you have with King. And I think that once kids really understand how to play the game of basketball and what works, then it just makes the game that much easier for everybody else. And it makes it fun because you're winning. And shoot, who doesn't want to be that big? I look at Trey Williams over at Purdue. This guy is as far as passing, you can run the offense through him. And I mean, it's fun if Coffee, and I'm not saying that any players that you would coach would ever do this, but throw a no-look pass and stuff like that for an easy assist or something like that. But it just makes the game more fun and, enjoyable for a lot of the bigs because they don't get touches or, they're not involved in the game. And I even look at it, if the big man just got a block on this end or he's playing real well, and then you see a guard and it's and they're on the breakaway, and you don't pass the ball off to him on the fast break for a layup and reward him for his efforts, then what do you really have him out there for? Because at the end of the day, keep it simple, and keeping it simple usually results into long seasons and hopefully a trip to the Breslin Center and a championship for you.
I pray that it does, but ultimately, as you alluded to earlier, TJ, I think Chauncey he's the type of young man who he'll will you to win even on a bad night. And we haven't had a lot of bad nights, obviously, but his calm, as you say, he relaxes everybody, and he'll let guys know, as I'm coaching them, he reminds them, hey man, that's his job. Let coach you. Let the coaches coach you. We'll be fine. Do your job. And it's something he's been saying for a long time. But you look at Terrence Brown Jr., you look at Lamont Parks Jr., each of those guys will be playing college football next year. And Lorne, as you and I talked about before, that kind of winning mentality, to be able to start summer football in 90-degree weather and have two-a-days and then go through the fall and go through the winter and have your semifinal game in sub-zero weather sometimes in 17 or 15-degree weather, to have that kind of mental toughness and bring it to the basketball floor has been a tremendous asset to our program. And I think more people should utilize their football guys. And I promise you, I wouldn't have wanted to go through this season without these young men and their mental stability and their mental strength.
No doubt, this could definitely be the year of the king. We could have Mr. Football Dante Moore and Mr. Basketball Chauncey Willis Jr. All in the same calendar year, which would be impressive.
But isn't that kind of crazy, Lorne? It hasn't been done before, and the more and more I thought about it, Chauncey and I, and he's as close to me as you would expect a player and a coach to be. We spoke one day, and I said, "Do you realize you are embarking on a senior season or an individual school year that no high school player can ever say he's had, ever. In the city of Detroit's history, nobody has won a state championship in football and basketball at the highest level, played on the number one team in each sport, and has been as contributing part of each program."
That's
and
right.
You're looking at it, like you said, to win a state championship in football, city championship in football, and to have an opportunity to do the same thing in basketball and have Mr. Football and Mr. Basketball all in the same year, obviously it's unprecedented, and I don't know if it would ever occur again unless we do it at King High School.
Well, there you go. All right, one thing we talked about on the show, and I want to get your opinion. TJ, you've probably maybe even discussed it before, but the facility you'd like to see built, because we've been talking about the musical chairs a little bit with the city championship game. Callahan Hall wasn't available, so we're at the arena, so people got to make a long drive. Sometimes it's got to be played elsewhere because of unavailability for particular locations. And so, TJ.
So I had an opportunity as I'm looking around and stuff like that. I'll go over to watch the G League team at at Wayne State's facility. Then we've got to go all the way to the arena. Half an hour north of the city, 45 minutes north of the city, depending on where you are.
Right.
And I really think, and then I'll read the newspaper and I see that Detroit Public Schools, they're getting a lot of new funding. Which Detroit Public Schools are in dire need of.
Okay.
And so I'm trying to think of and the beautiful thing is you travel a lot. You're involved, with Michigan Playmakers and the grassroots seasons and stuff like that. So you go to and see a lot of the other facilities, that some of these other cities have. I think that Detroit would be great, and I'm talking about in the city, to have a facility which could, pull back the chairs, where you can have 3 or 4 courts, but then you can bring the chairs back out and you can have a 4,000 seat facility, which would be owned by the Detroit Public Schools. And what I'm saying is, bring in the Boys and Girls Club, make sure that it's busy, but kind of have like a big rec center that would be available for up-and-coming athletes, have an academic piece where, hey, you know what, hey, you've got to do an hour of study work every single day if you want to participate in this, and just kind of make it a big community center. And I know that when you were growing up and, you go into Cooley and back in the 80s and stuff like that, there were community centers that were all over the place. And I think that, that was one of the things which made Detroit such a large hub for athletes to come out of. It's great talking with guys that are my age, your age, older, and stuff like that, and they bring out names and they'll say, hey, this guy went and played in Major League Baseball, this guy played for the NBA, this guy played in the NFL and all that other stuff. And obviously we've had a little bit of population that's wound up leaving, but I think that that's one of the things which would kind of build back Detroit where we were, because I know that it's in us. And, and I can't even look at it like, hey, you can have involve the community where, they can have memberships and stuff like that. You got your weight rooms and, just to have a big facility. But the more important thing is that it's owned by the Detroit Public Schools, so that every single year you don't have to rent out Callahan Hall. You don't have to rent out the arena. And to me, it just makes sense long term. And I'm saying that you could have it very local, and just have it
centrally located.
Have it near Wayne State. There's plenty of room right there in the zone.
I just think ultimately, TJ, you're looking at we have to become more invested in our young people. Mm-hmm. So yes, as we travel all over the world, yes, we have arenas and things of that nature that the locals can use. I think when this situation came about, because we have venues in which we could use. And I don't know what was going on at Wayne State University Monday, Sunday, Saturday, and Friday, where none of those days couldn't have been used for our championship game or even our Final Fours. So it has to just become an investment. It has to be something that we are truly, truly obligated to do for our young people. And yes, something needs to be built. And obviously, the powers that be, something needs to come up, and we need to really build something that the city can utilize for itself, for its own, so we don't always have to reach out and try to figure out something at the last minute to do. As unfortunate as it was really a beautiful venue. If that was going to be, our last resort, I thank the people from Oakland University definitely. But again, I just say the people at Wayne State, somebody knew of something and they heard that we needed a place to play, and they didn't capitalize on it, and shame on them. But you're right, we need to build something. But I thank God for the people at Oakland, because it was a beautiful evening.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. The new Cobo Arena. That would be something else, right?
Hey, right.
Yeah. Whoever, I don't know why they didn't. I didn't know why they didn't make. It was whispers that they were going to kind of renovate the arena area. You heard things of that nature, and whatever fell through, whatever happened, I don't know. But even something on the Joe Louis site, if they had done something over there, but hopefully something can be done for the sake of our young people, because you want that championship feel. You want to be able to say, I played at Cobo, I played at Callahan. Right. My junior year when we played at Cobo Hall, that week after we won the semis, I answered the phone Cobo. I didn't say hello, I said Cobo. So it was that special to me. Yeah. And I know what it would mean to the young people of today if they had an opportunity like that.
All right, we're talking with King head coach George Ward. I really appreciate your time. I know we've gone a little longer than I normally had suggested, but this is the way these conversations go. I appreciate it. I just have a few more for you.
That's good.
This one I teased on the show because I believe I know both of you have strong opinions on it, and it's new. So it looks like the transfer portal has really changed the game. TJ's segment on the video version of Hang Time was all about the unsigned seniors that we have right now, and it's quite unusual, the talented group that we have that are unsigned. I mean, college coaches can now just pluck who they need out of the portal to fill a need. They've got a college-ready guy, wherever they need. But this is affecting high school recruiting. I mean, do you see it that way?
Well, it's affecting high school recruiting in the major way. But, the irony of this is it has forced our college coaches to become lazy. I don't even know any other way to put it. I don't know if there's a politically correct way of saying it, but
right.
You look at some of my players, for instance. You look at Chauncey Lorne Willis Jr. Point blank. I look at college games. I come down here in my basement and I watch the games, and my screen is large enough where I can see if a guy really can play. And I'm looking at some of the players that have been plucked out of the portal, and I'm thinking to myself, I know my kid is better than him today. Now, and we've sent video. I've reached out, and I have personal relationships with a lot of these coaches, and I'll say to them, hey, man, you need to come get this kid. And for whatever reason, they're listening to the prognosticator. So once someone else says that, well, okay, this kid can play, and now the college coaches started to come around. But I just think for me, if I think the girl is pretty, I don't need TJ to tell me that she's pretty for me to like her. So these guys have got to get back to using their eyes and trusting their eyes and understanding that, when a kid can play, he can play, and become more diligent in getting out to games and making sure that they're watching these young people. Because I can tell you this, and I looked at all of our institutions around here. I can't tell you I've seen a guard better than my kid on their roster, and he's still in high school. So I don't know if that bothers anyone, and I don't care. But Wendell Green Jr., I told some guys, I say, hey, man, somebody needs to get Wendell. And everybody gave me every excuse in the world why they shouldn't get him. Now, I'll tell you this. If two of our teams that are in the Big Ten here in the state of Michigan, if they had Wendell Green, they're top 10 in the country. Now, that's just factual information. So if Auburn didn't have him, they wouldn't be in the top 10, because I've looked at them enough to tell you that's true. So we've got to get back and understand. Benny White and I were talking the other day, my big brother, the head coach at Birmingham Groves, Michigan State University, just a legend in the state. Mm-hmm. And the statement to him was, hey, look, man, we got to get out and make sure that you see these players. And unfortunately, they're not seeing them enough. And I think it's hurtful for our young people, because the so-called experts who these college coaches are relying on, they're relying on publications, they're relying on other people. And then when I call them and tell them they should take a kid, if you don't listen to me, how are you listening to someone else? And I know I'm really an expert because I work with these young people every day. So it's difficult to watch. And it's difficult to watch some of our college programs not do as well as they could, because I know if they really hit the pavement, some of these guys would really clean up with our talent that's around this area.
Yeah, it's all about turning over some stones and seeing, and seeing what's there. And you talk about Chauncey. I don't think it's any kind of crazy leap of faith, to go out there and say, hey, this kid can help us win. To me, it's kind of like a no-brainer. I know that, it's frustrating to you. It's frustrating to me. I could tell a coach about, a kid in August or September, and then not hear from this coach. And then he's going to call me in February and he's going to say, hey, how's that kid playing? And I'm just I'm like, you read it. I hope you're reading my stuff. And the other thing is, what I always try to do is I try to send out as much information, contact information with the players. For example, obviously I've seen Chauncey probably way more than the average scout or whoever. But I will say, here's George Ward's number. I've seen the kid play 3 times. George Ward sees him twice that amount in 1 week. So who do you think really has a better idea of who the kid is as a person, who he is as far as work ethic? And, sometimes I see a kid, and he might hit 4 or 5 threes in one game. Am I going to go out there and say he's a lights out shooter? Yeah, he was lights out that game, but I can say, hey, give Coach Ward a call, and he's going to tell you how much. Hey, this kid put up 20,000 shots over the summer.
Well, TJ, ultimately, as Lorne stated, the portal allows you to kind of just reach in and say, hey, let me get a young man. And as we're looking at it, the portal, when you look at all the young people that have transferred or been in the transfer portal, the success rate is not high. That's all I'm going to say about that. The success rate isn't high, but still we get to sit back and kind of wait on the portal again and say, I want an older guy and somebody that's already ready for college. And that hasn't worked out. Now, hopefully some will change soon, and hopefully it change the rule a little bit.
Well, I think the chemistry goes in a long way with what you're talking about. If I'm a 23-year-old senior and all of a sudden I'm joining this team, and I'm accustomed to certain things, and so all of a sudden
you got an ulterior motive. And he's got an
right.
ulterior motive. He's coming there thinking, I'm trying to go get a check.
Yes. And it takes away from the team, which you need to have the team to actually get where you're trying to go, and whether that be a Final Four championship or wherever you're going. But one thing that I'd like to really bring up, and I think that it'll be benefits all teams that we want that wind up winning and going and having deep runs in the finals. And we talked about it on the video show, was that when you start winning, in college coaches, they're there, in the semifinals and the quarterfinals or the finals of that season, because pretty much there's nothing else going on in any other states. All the other states are done. And so when college coaches, they really get to get out there. And you coached Eric Williams, who we talked about.
Yes.
During the spring and summer. But it was New Haven's success as a team that wound up bringing success for him. As far as, it took his recruitment from Division II to all of a sudden is like, hey, man, I'm going to Akron. Hold up, I'm going to Duquesne. And then a couple of years later, hey, I'm going to Oregon. So just to start going to the pinnacle of success, a lot of it starts with winning. And, hats off to you and what you've done. And, as you guys win, I believe that, Coffey's recruitment is going to go that much higher, as well as Chauncey, as they should.
As others.
All
right. Two more real quick. BCAM this year has officially launched the One Team campaign. It's an effort to promote unity, among the teams and schools and communities. What are your thoughts on this endeavor as it's played out?
Well, you know what? Just the term itself, this unity, you're talking about sportsmanship and understanding after 32 minutes, we're kind of all in this thing together. And I think that's something that I take dearly, and we've talked about it at BCAM for a couple years now, and I'm glad that it's been kicked off. I just think BCAM now is really taking some initiative to kind of push the envelope a little bit, to really propose sportsmanship, respect, and values for the game that obviously people talk about, but we need to stress it now, especially in this day and time, because we see what's going on. You've seen young people arguing, fighting at games, et cetera, certain situations that we've seen at the collegiate level. So I think what BCAM is trying to do is really, really what we're trying to do at BCAM and say, look, this is what's important. And this is how you need to conduct yourself. This is what sports needs to look like, especially at the amateur level. And I just say kudos to Dan Young and all of the board of directors and all the members of BCAM, because this isn't the only initiative, the only thing that they're kind of pushing. But right now, I think it's at the forefront because it's definitely needed. When you start talking about unity, you're talking about love and respect for one another. And I think the programs, the conferences, and these cities really need it, especially right now.
Yeah. All right. One final question, George, and we've been doing this poll all season long, mostly for, but we have had some vociferous arguments against, and that is the shot clock. Your thoughts on the implementation of the shot clock in Michigan high school basketball?
Who would be against the shot clock? I don't understand why. I've been begging for it.
So the arguments against, I think, mainly is
manpower.
For manpower, like for some of these schools, it's another person that they have to have there that is running the clock. He says in past, situations where it comes down to a situation and there was a shot clock issue. Did it hit the rim or not? And then that's more of a delay. What are your thoughts? And everybody can have their own thoughts.
My thought is the training for operating the shot clock is as simple as it could be. Um, and if there's any issue whatsoever, a great portion of our officials at the high school level officiate college games as well. So I think they're on top of it, but I think it really would allow for a little bit more excitement for our young people. And again, it's about preparation. You're talking about preparation. If you're going to go play at the next level, at the collegiate level, there's a shot clock. And I think that's something that our young people could benefit from. I think the style of play would actually, you know what? I don't know if there's a lot of teams that take 30 or 35 seconds to get a shot up anyway, especially around my area. But I think what it does, it really makes you more precise in your offense. It really makes you say, okay, you can defend. You really reward a team for defending for 30, 35 seconds, as opposed to saying, I got to defend for 60 long seconds before a team gets a shot up. I just think it's definitely necessary, and we're long overdue, and the shot clock needs to get here quick.
Yeah. All right. Well, there you go. Coach Ward, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. And, of course, best of luck. You'll have, Operation Friendship coming up. You'll be taking on the Catholic champ. Great preparation for districts, and you'll be in another tough district that if you can climb your way out of, certainly light at the end of the tunnel will certainly be a little brighter.
I appreciate it. And, yes, you're looking at a district that includes River Rouge. Those guys are on Grand River and Detroit Western. So,
yes, exactly.
Obviously it doesn't get any easier. So we're going to celebrate for another day, and then we're going to definitely start to get after it in preparation for what we believe can be a long run into March, and see if we can come up with something that's never been done at King High School.
Yeah.
And for the boys, there's never been a team at King High School to even play for the state championship, and that was something that we were able to do at Southeastern as well, even though we lost 2. We've never had that opportunity to play on that last Saturday. So I'm looking forward to getting that done if we can over at King, and it'll be fun.
Okay. Thank you, Coach.
Hey, man, thank you guys, man.
All right, Coach Ward. Talk to you.
Yep.
All right. Hey, TJ, don't talk Lorne to death, man. Go on, let him go.
It's all good. Yeah, I know. All right. Thanks, Coach.
All right, my man.
We'll see you.
All right, man. Appreciate you.